There is a fifth discussion beyond that which is known to man. It is a discussion as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between anger and joy, between silence and outrage, and it lies between the pit of Nathan's fears and the summit of Tyler's knowledge. This is a discussion of intellectual properties. It is a podcast which we call Ignore the Bell.
Meet Nathan and Tyler Knapp, two brothers who started a podcast about film and television.
Yeah.
As pedestrian and tired as that sounds, these two young men have no idea that they've just entered a dimension where their thoughts don't matter and their opinions fall on deaf ears.
I don't like it.
You've just entered the YouTube comment section.
Oh, I don't want to be there at all. I hate that place.
No.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't know what that was, folks, but hello and welcome to Ignore the Bell. My name is Nathan.
And I'm Tyler.
This is an announcement video. In case you did not catch on from the title of the video or the light box behind me, we are starting a new series. This is a limited event series. So we're going to do this for 13 episodes, and it is going to be Twilight Zone Tuesdays, a series in which we look back on some of my favorite episodes from the original Twilight Zone series from the late 1950s into the early 1960s. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to watch one a week, and then we're going to have a discussion about that episode, somewhat of a review, but more of a discussion about that episode. We're going to do our very, very best to restrain ourselves to a pretty short discussion time. We're going to go for 13 minutes. We're probably going to ignore the bell for part of that. Like, we'll go past 13 minutes a bit, but we're going to try to keep it as short as possible. So I am going to let you know which episodes we're going to be looking at. And if you want to kind of watch along with us, and there's no guarantee that we're going to go in this order, but these are the 13 episodes that we're going to be watching. So it's going to be Time Enough at Last, The Howling Man, It's a Good Life, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, Eye of the Beholder, The Shelter, 5 Characters in Search of an Exit, The Little People, The Masks, The Trade-Ins, I Shot an Arrow into the Air, and Living Doll. So part of the reason for doing this is that the Twilight Zone is great, and it has inspired so much great television and films. Before we started recording this, then I was saying to you that I feel like every single one of these episodes I look at and I'm like, oh, that turned into this movie. That turned into that movie. That turned into that TV show. And that's kind of how I got into the Twilight Zone, the original series, is I knew there were references, especially from The Simpsons. Like, that's a reference to something, but I don't know what, but it seems interesting. Right. And so I started going back through the original series and watching them. So that's going to be a big part of the series. The other thing too, and this is going to be more booktube content that I'm going to do on my own. So I've got this really, really great book, which I've only read a few of the stories from here, but it is The Twilight Zone, the original stories. And so these are the original short stories that were developed into Twilight Zone episodes. So these were great sci-fi and short horror stories by authors that you would absolutely recognize, like Ray Bradbury and Richard Matheson, Charles Beaumont, Jerome Bixby. And so the first 4 that I mentioned are all in this book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing booktube discussions of these short stories. And aside from the ones that are in this book, most of the Twilight Zone episodes were original screenplays written by Rod Serling. It's kind of staggering how many he wrote.
Just hugely influential figure, obviously. We were both trying to do our best impression of him before this started.
Right.
And just because he is very iconic, but he was such a visionary with so many of these different concepts that have, stood the test of time. And
he was a concept machine. Like,
yeah.
as far as high concept, that dude could churn out high concept ideas so fast. It's really staggering just how prolific he was as a writer. And I mean, I know from enough people in the sci-fi and horror community that enough of them recognize how important and influential he is, but also how he doesn't get enough recognition for that, because he was a teleplay writer. He was writing scripts.
Yeah.
He wasn't writing short stories, and he wasn't writing novels. So he doesn't end up getting a ton of credit by the literary community for his contributions, but certainly in the television community, then he gets a lot of credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you mentioned a little bit of your background with the series. And just for me, I started watching through the series on Netflix, American Netflix, and so I think I got to about like episode 19, and it's such a brilliant series, and I am looking forward to getting the best of the best, as it
were.
So.
And I'm not guaranteeing that these, like, I honestly, these are just more my favorites, and I still had to pare it down as much as I could to 13 episodes, because I started really seriously watching the show when I was in my last year of high school. I had a creative writing teacher who showed us a bunch of these episodes, and then we looked at the scripts, and then we kind of wrote our own version of a Twilight Zone episode. So that was a big project that we did, and we watched a lot of them, and we talked about them a lot, and I ended up picking that up and then putting it into my own teaching practice. So I've taught a lot of these episodes. I've already looked at a lot of these short stories and taught them in the classroom, and then looked at like different adaptations of these, whether it's a film version or like a Simpsons parody of it. So it's fun to be able to, like, they're so rewarding to go back and watch them again and again. Like, there's so much, they're so fun and entertaining and insightful. And they've got these great twist endings that are so classic. So, so that's basically the series. And I'm not sure that I made it clear, but it's going to be on Tuesdays. Twilight Zone Tuesdays on the channel. And we're going to do this for about 13 weeks. And basically, we're going to see how it goes. If this ends up being really well received, and if we really enjoy doing this, then we may do season 2 of Twilight Zone Tuesdays, and then do another run of 13 more episodes.
Yeah, and if any of you watching out there have any specific episodes that we haven't mentioned that you would like us to talk about, just throw it down in the comments, and possibly season 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that you folks enjoy this, and that you follow along. And I guess we'll wrap this up. Let's go watch an episode. And I'm really hoping that we don't have another creepy narration, like narrator going on here. Like, that was disturbing. I did not like that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that voice was just awful.
I already have had enough of it. I heard it for a few seconds, and that was enough. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Imagine, if you will, subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Leave your comments below, and maybe, just maybe, you'll receive a response. All for a channel referred to by many as Ignore the Bell.